Advantage 1, U.S. nutrient pollution causes extinction. Crate 22, most worrisome, the climate nutrient pollution carries fertilizer to the ocean. Induced large blooms can take up to sea, consumes oxygen, make the ocean uninhabitable. 10 cents doubled every decade, have long-term effects. In the future, depends on the ocean. Keeping the planet habitable, provide half the oxygen we breathe, reducing nutrient pollution by humanity. In the U.S. behind humanity, hit time to figure out solutions, including fisheries costs, global wars, extinction, must hold 20. Around the world, illegal fishing is happening. STS, reducing river boundaries. In Africa, police breaking over rules and breaking over rules over fishing. Threats to global fish. Fisheries are on the brink of collapse, driven by countries reacting power. Tensions in China and Brazil, Sri Lanka, and India are growing. Contests for food security countries looking at increasing accident fishing is an existential threat. Kelp offers nuclear war extinction. Version 22. Nuke war plunge your planet into winter calorie production plumbing. 90% of kelp could be harvested, replaced currently held consumed by providing biofuel production, animal feed, nuclear winter blackout sunlight. Capabilities. Kelp farms wouldn't thrive to help humans weather winter until climate recovery. Kelp's essential to marine ecosystems and fisheries. 23. Kelp forests are one most variable ecosystem, provides habitat and food for ocean dwellers, reduce damage from storms, reduces oxygen, and contribute to 500 billion in the fisheries production, pollution reduction, limit toxicology, booms 50,000 more vulnerable than previous knowledge of contribution meant to spirit conservation efforts, draw attention to policymakers, global policy infra, no focus on kelp solves ocean acidification, Queen 21. Kelp sorting carbon throughout the atmosphere, process irreplaceable advantage to sequestration, alleviate eutrophication, eutrophication via dissolution of sea, OH2, kelp ability, ocean acidification, more than carbon, ocean acidification now, acidification guarantees extinction, trailer. 23. Acidification body concept, positive feedback loops, reduce resilience, affect human systems, reduce coral reef degradation, raging effects, negatively impacted seafood, reducing nutritional value, increasing resilience communities, increasing social radiation, reaching the exacerbating climate change, reducing CO2 levels, emissions as a result of it, posed by ecosystem which play an important role. But kelp is doomed. 1. West Coast, Smith 21. 95% kelp coastal kelp devoured by the explosion of urchins, Lulia desert. 1 encompasses 400 miles in Marine to Oregon, 2 East Coast, Sherwick 24. Kelp forests were widespread northeast and occurred significant declines, remaining abundance declining at 70%, increasing rapid declines. New York fell in less than 10%, Southwest very low. No, all causes this where all the US kelp is. Insert the map, rise 20. Resilient MPAs create broad protection against natural disasters. Shows 22. Marine ecosystem is crucial in protecting shoreline from greater impacts such as natural disasters, tsunamis, hurricanes, biological barriers, ecosystem of protection will provide seeing the health of populations. US-based natural disasters spill over. Extinction of Sullivan 2015. Natural with one of the more frequent and intense linkages between environmental homeland security, international strategic security threats, governments, collapsing people are desperate to fight over land, civil wars, numerous other complex non-linear casualties, security magnifies magnified drivers, and scale probable disruptions, the issue with the U.S. risk impeccable black swan natural disaster, independently marine biodiversity cells extinction to power. 17. No other realm of biodiversity more essential to the ocean critical aspect of function of the planet, constitutes 90% of probable states, and contains 250,000 known species, half less flying, half oxygen that we breathe, other sources of food delivery, livelihood, water, forest protection against erosion, and extreme weather contribute to poverty eradication. Precious and marine biodiversity, undefined services need to thrive now. Advantage 2, unclosed credibility fosters cooperation, and integration solves every essential threat. Sting 22. Oceans comments that other stress, unclosed and stressful, and ensuring adherence to the framework which respects sovereign waters, resolve waters to resolve tensions over the species and maritime, and tackling essential challenges, right? And sustainable economy, cables are under threat, piracy remains a threat to insurgency, spreading terror is omnipresent in the ability of glaciers. Nations seek to shape their existing rules and stay illegal, and claims a single most unified factor, emerging maritime security system, China, reclamation, SCS challenge, going to intensify brinksmanship, leads to escalation, picking and choosing parts of unclosed obliterates credibility. Element code 24. Determination whether operation unclosed status CIL cannot be based on the international interests of the U.S. Party unclosed plus around CIL, the legal foundation, highest level of legal certainty, international recognition, and increasing the level of international credibility. Yes, the world lead for maritime power. This is crucial. Non-parties we can choose. They consider beneficial the applicable rules that CIL wanted to write off authority, but unclosed becoming party little. Use of practice with permitted prior to new rules. U.S. follow all parts of unclosed to CIL. Roman 20. U.S. accepts and complies with treaty provisions without ratifying regulation. You stops new document. It would be that close reflects CIL fulfills comprehensive legal framework. New rulings to close immigration body obligation to restore maritime environment. Navanova 24. Opinion states obligation under Article 192 on coast protect and preserve details maintaining healthy marine ecosystem promotes conservation with as environment has already been degraded obligation under restoring habitats obligation under Article 1945 to protect fragile ecosystems depleted species and other marine life. Skip the next card restricting marine destruction with sets of binding precedent for CIL cooperation. 23. Enclosed terminals on top of related ocean codified by existing customary law. CIL is recognized as the primary source of law. Conservation is criticalized. New customary rules and nature on law customary rules providing all states, including non-parties, opinion jurors can be reflected and identified by conventional rules. Unclosed progressive development contribute to crystallization application prevent marine pollution committee and is regulated by CIL. Emphasizes important to customary law when conventions being widely accepted still caps existential risk in court of 16. Still, extend race and may modify treaties general. The exceptions to new may be sufficient to hold out the problem. In less contextual ways require states to engage in the consensus respecting consensus. And sales authoritative states abide by as the law general plans, including terrorist organizations, climate, WMD addressing global solutions. Now, in the plan, the United States ought to revolve substantial traction plan in exclusive economic zone. The standards preventing extinction outweighs deaths, global painful reversal of the forfeit value more uncertainty. Means risk outweighs the risk for rob. Now, Solvency 1 otters 80 feet urchin scales 24. Given nature, land by reintroduced species habitat struggle types recover their own speed otters were eliminated the US as FWS and continue moving otters move the gaps to keep ecosystem healthy without otters. There's urgent exploded forests to keep down when otters they'll lead to Alaska, BC, and Kelp. And to Kelp 2, Kelp reintroductions, there's solving spills of globally down in 21. Kelp planting allows biodiversity limits to be placed in restoration areas, lead to restock and kelp forests as well. Geoformation events to rewilding kelp support. The species diversity spent the success of sea otter introduction and the rewilding greater community support as actually global efforts that preserve wild kelp. Now the plants also global biodiversity. The McDonald 21 rewilding introducing new plant animal life pollution survivor right. The rewilding and perennial uses of community interface with new Pocahontas wildlife to the reserve. The bleaching against sea reroll up in market part of rewilding and creates resilient MPAs. Shuyan 21 rewilding contains the resilience of marine ecosystem extreme climatic events MPAs. Spanish human impacts including most destructive MPAs. Rewilding the areas, the plant spills over globally one interest, everyone's ready for a collective ocean action. Taylor 25, UNOC, saw unprecedented mobilization, 120 countries, leaders, 110,000 people, strong push, and teaching leaders in climate to biodetox, now everyone on board, hour day after with the US under Trump, pulled out of Paris, like the US, the president scandal, one scandal, 2 COP30, domestic commitments perceived globally, Seabrook 11, and 10 COP30 start today, regrettable, yes, most powerful, resourceful, influential countries withdrawing.
How does the plan, increase the amount of kelp?
Well, a few things. One, it first directly plants the kelp, which is sufficient. 2, makes it sustainable by reintroducing otters, which eats urchins.
Okay, sure. What evidence says that rewilding includes restoration of oysters?
Well, that's what rewilding is, returning land to its natural ecosystem. Right now, our evidence indicates that there is an overconsumption, or otters are going extinct due to lack of marine biodiversity.
Okay, for fish wars, who gets drawn in?
This evidence indicates that any country can get drawn in because fish is the root cause of a lot of wars. This evidence indicates the SCS is a main flashpoint.
Okay, so Russia and China get drawn in.
Well, let's see the card specifically. I remember the SCS as an impact. SCS rules over overfishing. It's mostly between Brazil, Sri Lanka, India. Those are all examples.
Okay, advantage 2. I guess how does the plan become party to UNCLOS?
It doesn't.
Okay, so your evidence is about the U.S. I guess how do you solve UNCLOS credibility?
The United States committed to UNCLOS all provisions before the recent ruling that indicated that it needed to rewild.
Okay.
So the plan proactively rewilds, which means it says that UNCLOS is.
Okay, your evidence says that picking and choosing parts of UNCLOS obliterates credibility. What card says that what card says that the U.S. follows all other parts of UNCLOS?
Burma. Through customary international law.
Okay, your evidence says that the U.S. declares that it solves all parts of UNCLOS, what card says that? The new ruling says that the U.S. must protect and preserve the marine environment. What card says that it requires rewilding?
The Namanuba evidence. So protection indicates the restoration of marine biodiversity, which is the ASPEC mandate.
Wait, no, it doesn't. It says that you have to protect and preserve.
Protect and preserve indicates preserving the ocean from further loss of biodiversity.
Okay. So I guess what species does the plan introduce?
Well, normal means we have cited kelp, otters. That's sufficient to resolve the impacts.
Okay, the plan spills over globally. I guess what incentive do revisionist countries like Russia and China have to follow UNCLOS?
What do you mean? They follow UNCLOS because it's good to establish global norms. They like it too. But
okay.
The problem is that they're capitalizing on it.
Okay. Sure. Advantage 1, I guess how much kelp is necessary to buffer nuclear winter?
Well, it just says that kelp should be planted across the globe. Right now, it says kelp is depleting, and this card makes a unique disclaimer that says that kelp is depleting and thus you can't solve nuclear winter.
Okay.
So plant is sufficient.
Okay.
So domestic kelp production is.
Are you taking 4 or 5? First of all, substantial refers to all tracts of land task force. 5 substantially means all except the negative minorities who concluded the must given order being involved with diplomatic control and about 73% is lacking to substantially negative on limits to get ecosystem restoration and animal reintroductions in every state. There's no universal system. Forcing us and stealing using prep generics. Next up is new apps, new undisclosed affirmatives are voting issue. They screenshot is sent and we can forward the chain if needed. They undermine negative crap and clash by incentivizing one of strategies that the negative can't predict. Discourse also often says is good. Already need to use new acts affirm about 1 or 3. Conditionality is good. Counterplots functional limits. Maintain negative flexibility. Next up is the Canada ought to rebuild substantial parts of green land in the Arctic. Rebuild threatening recommend the U.S. do the above, threatening to cease all cooperation and impose retaliatory actions if the U.S. does not comply. It's all the case in raise Canadian air pass after the 23 records. Our ability to number one ensure pass terror originally ready to contribute and originally pass Washington respond. One other one did their independence and peril of your buddy defense and the North being a liger for Canadian defense saying, but the U.S. and all Canada was leading with no power today, pass becoming marginal country, not as passive leaders and sense and ability capable to leverage even multi modest. That's all distinction. Creating and recruit multiple the Canada, the Altus breakdown through multi rewards, your currency, cyber penalties, food and migration, declining multi through multi breakdown, connecting the woods, giving to multi application of institutions, become force your competition, foreign policy, let's have multi one policy there. Well, next off is the bitches that Democrats would now turn inserted, apply market 29 p.m. PST, apply market is liable, cutting 25, the state was versus the party, the public to power your budget of bureaucracies, employing in civil elections, Dave resulting in Congress, if you're deploying in sweet states, specifically apply worker, rewriting unique anti beyond polls, providing states Republicans to record 24 newly 1987% to the one voting conservation supported in this is bipartisan agreement. Republican around expectations for the 118 Congress, Americans calling for actions to help the species, help species and ecosystems part of broader trend parts of seeing market and towns work because of what we desire for Congress to do more direct ecosystems. Democratic win blocks that go into no cost reform, Pentagon space to secure board using a GD as technologically feasible, will be extensive over world leadership. We made the choice of verdict, technologically possible space could be decided by the 26 mentions of House Space. Democrats so enthusiastic how they're going to be, are they going to be to put the extra money for GD with that name? Golden Dome creates nuclear war, Romnick 10-3, GD undermining all confidence and deterrence for Russian countermeasures, hypersonic state, it's not deploying arms systems where storms and increase the danger of this country, breach energy, satellites, zero modernize competence, what is the deterrence of perception energy, neutralize retail virus, spirit deterrence, increasing its sense of activity, resistant for international party, areas such as tribalization, of resilience, environmental that underpins deterrence, accident, precedent, noise, weaponization, space, no cooks, no way, nuclear purposes, receiving GD as a challenge, it's deterrent. Next up is impeachment counterpart. The United States ought to unanimously commit robbery, removing any president whose position with the date of the commitment declaration does not pass policy roads of central tracts of land into pure team zone. The 47th president of the United States should pledge to not revolt central tracts of land into pure team zone. The counter competes itself. Breast 25, the counter cult that believes anything is prohibited if it does. It's a thing when Trump goes. The goal won't have this direction based on half personality like abuse of Trump's assuming opposition to the Constitution and conducting the law of to a tribe, but needs to have charisma opposition would most effectively and would be likely to continue being a democracy. Trump is essential to only 214, so this is the biggest step for Republican environment. Communist is the part of democracy that Senate authoritarian regimes is always just likely. Consequences of as factor should actually different with sustainable high levels of dispatchable yield to stabilization manifested autocratic regime consequences are imminent, including for suffering access, environment and climate and put destabilization required. Result. Rebuttling requires a legal mandate calls in 20 acts of Congress access murder by solicitor of the interior case law code, including real litigation requires substantial congressional, executive, and sectorial actions. Thus, specifying agent is a voter, and the one he sees a voter, anything else specifies conditionality, skirts politics, surrounding mechanism, kind of laws, which means negative fairness. Next up is the debt to send rebuttling super expenses. Second to requires land cases of food compensate lender creating stretches of land use that requires significant capital cost of $6,000 per acre, real land cost $100 million. That's my debt extinction. Current 2060 to 100% GPA. We recognize the limit of volume suffering crisis. Inflation devaluation got us through the digits. Inflation always debt. We have another crisis of war. Going China, Russia, the East, imagine dysfunction and militias out of session crisis mitigation. Also with military public spending to beat the crisis of food on public population come, but we can remove the killing. Next up is the Constitution. The Con counterpart the 50 states to limited constitutional convention. We want potential tracts of subverting zone rebuttling via the Constitution sells better European 23 constitution over environmentalism, achieving environmental justice, or set environmental policy, agony extractive agencies was common, provisions found in eminent domain, water rights, tax public land, all being to be Jovanovich 19 in Kosovo subject who ought to analysis of UN chartership's duties of government to implement immediately. Next up is the disability case. The one he sees radical ecosystem restorations, went into eugenic cultural imagine that associates health with moral purity buster 20 pyramids show our calls for attention beauty along some pollution recognizing the body land something as a third as this question point decapitating what is and what may be to embrace disability extends to a damage because death of penalty restoration the notion that things might be damaged might be watched clean reject the idea that local land is dependent on this restoration to lure the health the lawyer repairs psychological investment in curious guide efforts toward ecosystem restoration but negative to reject the risk calculus limited to all 21 research group EJ developed environmental features that can be in which knowledge are debated how to roll in minimal presence of disability EJ academy's premise on ableism those who cannot achieve high superiority to approach because the practice produced in enables academy will be able to scope to all the we need to curb environmentalism. Now, advantage one, no appreciates impact on NH 24 and report on the wage and also 23 solid local percent subject overreaching data rule 90% not show improvements positive trends continue. Kept exists now. There's no broad line for buffering any of their impacts independently. The evidence cites global decline because of things such as sea urchins broadly. There's no reason why other countries are going to follow on and solve that. It's also not offense. No card says nuclear war is inevitable, which means that it doesn't occur under the negative world. Biodiversity loss, no impact. 125 under 1.1% species without anything the threshold might not be reached. Moments of years spikes in extinction, but the background levels are common. Under 24, importantly, the magnitude of species loss is low as 955. Under 2.1 billion recent extinctions are highly biased. What's occurred in all extinction will continue the same rate even after even the endangered species currently endangered species have gone extinct and no explanation for how their major efforts to protect species, investments in conservation, biodiversity declines and sees misleading to conservation. Food wars are obviously illogical. If you're hungry, how can you fight? No ocean acidification impact. More 21 insufficient is misleading. pH varies from 7.5 to 8.3%. This is all alcohol direct evidence trees are taking up large percent of emissions. pH did not constitute wars are sharp to reason believe species loss ability caused by higher carbon levels. Said centers of every species survival related to which conditions change rapidly. to each of the survived improvements and changing conditions foster rapid evolution of vertebrates produce are capable of adaptation to produce and only thousands of housing cases chance of mutations are better suited many species who water specific ranges of pH CO2 champions millennium put and target transgenerational passive action water is more powerful property to resist change in pH. There's no universal pH. Independently counterplan the United States ought to grow substantial amounts of kelp in the Great Lakes. That definitively tells the affirmative. I'll send the text after. No, advantage 2. No link. The plan doesn't ratify UNCLOS. UNCLOS is truthfess. Goes to U.S. survival without UNCLOS because U.S. is primary before useless and carbon sensitive claims to have an appearing verification. Is that the China zero respect for future Beijing lost UNCLOS case regarding ISIS? Did China respect no regardless of U.S. The SIM card is highlighted to shreds and doesn't have a specific terminal, which means that you should have new one-year extrapolation. Selective application, or the U.S. doesn't follow all treaties or all provisions. Nadimi 19, Washington applies to most requirements, but objects to certain provisions. MPAs failed. Hoover 22 research has shown that not all MPAs are equal. Even commands are implemented. They prepare force on the world's ocean. Each international pledges meaningful protection laws. When the commitments of protection exists mainly on paper, anti fishing is defensively expanding there in many areas. Subject activities permanent necessarily allow fishing in categories on specified activities. And no natural disasters impact. Predictor 1 coming through little wind, long data in case no increase in number of super disasters, wildfires increase dramatically. And NASA measured show data and hurricanes and clarity reports only low costs for 10 years have been all-time low cost studies. Ignores many bills they affect completion. Frequencies higher loss to study. It's demonstratably roughly disasters. The comment that classify that to advantage 1. CIL fails in community 20. CIS elasticity prawns properties for evasion that are kind of CCO does not confer rule with the process by saying disconnected is contingent. And it is contingent variable off whose frequency created is not clear, but inserting loss mechanisms to regulate particular positions. I'll send this after the round. The United States audit sale of substantial tracts of land for vulnerable housing, increased conservation and protection of its maritime land in a maritime zone. Setting off public land bans conservation. Actually, wait, this is fucking incoherent. That's international laws broken and ineffective. Close to 25 criticisms of international law are impossible to deny 2 weeks likely apply newly in extension state power precedents. Horizontal system offers states to justify anti-use supports international law did not cite legal limits winning of international law imperatives of equalization beginning to see the anti-criminal system for running treaties supposed to limit or control attempting to justify illegally justified action.
Okay, CX.
Yeah.
Status of every counterplan.
Conditional.
Okay.
Judge kick.
Yeah, sure. The impeachment counterplan, how does it compete?
Immediacy, and also it's
Immediacy
not
laws.
legislative because it fiats the president.
Where?
So by an executive order.
Rewilding requires legal mandate. Yes. This card literally says acts of Congress, EOs, memoranda of the Solicitor General. How is that not like executive action? How is that not legal mandate?
Wait, the plan, we think that the counterplan does not fiat any legal mandate because it has Congress only threaten to remove presidents who do not implement it.
Okay, so it's just certainty competition, correct?
Well, no, because the counterplan's mandate never fiats the affirmative, which
So it's
means that it's
mandates
plan
competition?
minus. Yeah.
Mandates competition. Okay, where have you justified mandates competition to NC?
Well, we think that the counterplan is less than the plan because it fiats less. Which
Okay,
means
sure.
that-
Yes, less. Okay, the midterms DA, the link is rewilding saves. Okay, why would Republicans get credit for the plan?
Because they control both chambers.
They control both chambers. Okay, where have you said that Democrats will oppose to it or will oppose rewilding? Why would it be a negative?
Well, we think that the public hates Republicans and their policy agenda broadly because of environmental inaction. The plan is perceived as environmental action, which makes people more satisfied with the Republicans, and people who are dissatisfied with the current Congress's actions are more likely to flip and vote in favor of the party that is not in control.
Okay. Every independent reason to reject the scheme, I caught ASPEC.
Yeah, there's ASPEC, and then there's T substantial, and then there's new apps, and then the K if you consider it.
Okay, disability, what's the link?
Yeah, the affirmative says that ecosystem health is valuable. We think that framing ecosystem through health is arbitrary and bad because it says that people who are unhealthy, i.e., who have disabilities, are not as valued.
Explain that one more time.
Yeah, so the affirmative clearly frames their impacts through the lens of environmental health. We think that this is ableist because associating ecological health to moral worth is ableist since it further associates health with value, which says that disabled people are lesser than.
Okay, cool. Send the counter.
I sent
What's
it.
the text of every counterplan you extended?
The only one that I exempted was the analytic one that I sent out, and then I scratched the offsets counterplan because it's the affirmative doesn't revolve.
Okay, what did you read every off?
Yeah.
Okay, and just checking only voter was ASPEC.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Con, how does it compete?
Yeah, it competes off certainty and immediacy.
And immediacy. Okay,
Yeah.
Genovisic, explain where it defines odd equals immediate.
Sure. It says that there was a case where someone analyzed ought, and then it says that the duties of the government are immediate, which means that according to law, the government must enact the plan immediately.
Debt. Why is rebuttal unique?
Because well, the plan like increases debt because it does more rebuilding, which would expand the deficit greatly because rebuilding is expensive.
Okay. I'll send it out. It's advantage 1, advantage 2.
Wait, hold on.
Okay. ASPEC.
Wait, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Alright, what's the order?
1, 2.
Yeah.
ASPEC. Substantial. UAFs. Debt. Con. Disability. Canada. Midterms. Impeachment. Let me take that.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5. List every off you've read.
List every off I
Every
read.
off.
Okay. T substantial, new apps, Canada counterplan,
Yeah.
midterms dissad,
Yeah.
the impeachment counterplan,
Yeah.
the debt dissad,
Yeah.
the counterplan,
Okay.
and then the disability K.
Alright, I'm good.
Oh, and then the off on the case, like the
Yeah,
like
yeah,
counterplan.
430 left.
Yeah.
Do the order again?
Yeah. 1, 2.
Uh-huh.
ASPEC.
Uh-huh.
Substantial. UAFs. Debt. Con. Disability. Canada. Midterms. Impeachment.
Okay.
Let me send it.
Okay, can I get that one more time?
Yeah. ASPEC. Substantial. UAFs. Debt. Con. Disability. Canada. Midterms. Impeachment.
Alright, I'll let you know when I get the doc.
After the K.
After the K is Canada.
Just come back.
Let me know when everyone's good to go.
Okay, I just got the doc. Let me download it. Oh, my battery might die. Whatever.
You can move somewhere without it.
I have 23%. Hopefully I can last through this speech. That's fine. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this the right dog?
Wait, what? You sent it from like last, wait.
Wait, what?
Wait.
Oh, that was from last topic.
Bro, this is from last time I debated you.
Okay. Alright, this should be it.
Alright.
Let me know when everyone's good to go.
Okay, I'll let you know when I get the new doc. Alright.
Okay, that would explain the next time.
It's opening right now.
Okay.
Alright, I'm good.
All?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, history to impact the evidence is global. That's not domestic. That's not global wars that are escalating because of marine biodiversity lost. Now, yes, kelp solvency plants. If we plant the kelp in the areas which is lost, which is 70%. And then when we modeled, which they dropped F solves global modeling, they dropped that it's declining now, and they dropped COP 30 solves in Trump model because everyone likes it and it's seen as reversal of Trump, which is good. Now, no slow, it's not slow. It's just marine biodiversity loss, which is uniquely existential because they contain keystone species, and the U.S. relies on the marine. Yes, food war. People fight because of resources to get it. There is a war, and they just dropped this without a card. Now, yes, acidification fact heals the entire ocean, killing keystone species. Great Lakes can't solve most of its new the shoreline, which doesn't solve and can't solve global modeling. Now, advantage 2, not toothless. They drop norms broadly, solve an existential war between the countries because they all follow UNCLOS, but they call it U.S. for credibility. Objections are wrong. This is not an example. They're not an example, and they drop that U.S. falls through CIL. A selective application is bad because countries call us out for hypocrisy. BB&J isn't binding, but countries perceive it as UNCLOS. Perceive it as UNCLOS. It doesn't fail. That was above CIL fails Affinities, but it doesn't fail because CIL is broad. And this defends broad rule of law, which results sanctions with ILO, no saves ILO that's after news, but the after abuse it proactively by committing to CIL. Now, ASPEC, it leads to picks and cross checks, and I can't ensure I don't have to spec now. Substantial, counterintuitive, substantial tries to mean an adequate size of farmer management, two retractions together, maybe substantial is not going to do one predictability still to turn right to ground, no geographical movements, so means we have to rebuild every part of it, we identify key and I can pick out of one case cross by every other theory argument. Now you ask, we can meet around violation of verifiable counter, I can get you ask, Netflix is wrong, and they get generics like politics, MPD, and kind of and it's bad for innovation because they discourage any innovation. It's also bad for grounding because we haven't the red have many participates and they don't disclose a negative and T checks their arguments down debt. All causes debt like social security spending and the bill change, which they don't say that doesn't cause that much because it's already happening. We have past examples. Proctor is highlighted shreds now. Trump is keep a global signal that was above, and it looks like insane where the U.S. doesn't really want to do it. It kills certainty since the states force it to do it. Con is literally kills out because it results in the legal commitment. It results in legal commitment. We force it to be it ourselves, and there's nobody writing about it. Audit is not certain. Monta 20 recodification chooses dictionary auto mandatory shall prior language advisory rather than dictionary replaced with a mandatory language. Jump state doesn't define immediacy, just says odd in a different section. It leads to delayed day, which is untenable. Now disability valley only applies to disability. Shipping links kill fairness, which is which what they care about because it's competitive and what the value of all else. No new framework. LD not policy means they need to read the NC vehicle of health is not human health and extinction bad answer. Extinction bad because it's irreversible and consensual. Serious calculus good pinpoint actions. Now can the counterpoint do both? One, normal means it's process over land, not servants. We only defended some land. The counterpoint is done over others, not intrinsic. They haven't specified that the counterpoint is done over the apps land. Normal means it's competition badly depending on the recycled paper clips, which are unbeatable. Two sequence mandate defined as the instant the counterpoint compel it's not intrinsic. It doesn't say the layer 7 they self equally cancel case or will be as key. One, Trump applied the counterpoint to advanced climate generates negative peer experience that's parallel to agencies. Ignore the bullying that's Carlson, Canada fields. In this 21 Canada contributors, limited digital and larger pace of funding, legal agreements with among funders, institutions, and bureaucracy, global pace contracts take months when expedient during the pandemic, in coordination among provinces and cities, institute lacking in the pandemic groups, having 60 abortion, underpowered trials, Monte Carlo trials, now the midterms, DA, Trump numbers, OBB already, increased water protection, C1, 24th, 5, OBB passed, Congress conservation prize, 150 million for small wash program, prize millions for water protection, won't be credited to GOP, no means it's Dems proposal, GOP agrees, Dems are party of environmentals, will take credit regardless, we get new answers because they haven't read the link. People forget the public has short attention span and a religiously partisan community has been recent issues matter more. The link episode of the BLM, that's the FWS, 2K, New Process Center Regulatory Authority, BSA, employ the concept of wildlife progress, like the FWS, what they call FWS now, the impeachment counterpoint, do both, all the app is a sectoral action, not a policy, Trump still impeached, Carlson agrees is topical, inserted, Carlson, politics process turns polarization, impeachment would animate Trump's base, but he'd have full regardless, want to see evidence as assaults, do the counterpoint, it's equivalent to law, it says you have to lose your job if you don't pass the plan, which is a criminal penalty, and strong legal mandate, yes, cross-apply, is not certain nor immediate, which means it can resolve the affirmative, force law is wrong, they say the executive order is legal action, is not certain, but 24 that was above, impeachment is a criminal punishment, as here as noted, 19 crimes of impeachment is appropriate, don't crown out criminal activities, more debate on people offensive during the Concom, the Concom, cause nuclear war cup, 19, overfire rate malicious state Trump would about war crew seriously promote outside divisions not legally for Americans, counterpoints that claim to resolve the app by resulting in a bad force to debate ourselves, it's undebatable on a topic where the affirmative is lost by generics like politics and McKinney.
Lack of agent specifications of voting issue, that means the affirmative must enumerate its actors like executive, legislative, or judicial. They kill fairness. Only specifications possibly to distance. They kind of specific to the affirmative acting mechanism. They eliminate core distance like politics, straight up and curbing. Those are key. The only unified ground against new and tiny cases. Ranging from rewiring the breaching zone to rewiring a single forest in Alaska. That is necessary. Only our offense outweigh if they choose a plan. So guaranteeing the negative reliable generics to choose clash avoidance. Anything else cites core circle futures being negative like reactivity unless the affirmative dictate what links with spikes at win rates. The framing issue is that they said maybe like 5 words on this and none of them were complete arguments, which means that if you cannot draw one from the one error to the two error, you must vote negative, especially because you should also reject concepts. All of them were in the context of topicality, such as functional limits and generics, but those are all denied absent actor specification because you don't get politics or process counterpoint absent the affirmative specifying an agent because they'll just say the affirmative is not legislation proven by the doubling on this case. Now, cross-examination, in this case, now, the only, the aft ground is a non-concern. 1, no link, they can still read the affirmative. 2, link to an actor specification enables advantages specific to means of enactment multiplying negative ground. Agent counterpoints are not concerned. Arguments like text and function fill to the words counterpoints that result in the affirmative and theory checks, which means that we'll concede that counterpoints that result in the affirmative are a voting issue, which takes it all. Confidence into sex strike, bring an arms race to develop hypersonic space weapons and asymmetric capabilities that identified as a first strike. That outweighs MD checks, food wars, etc., making crisis instability the only nuclear scenario. 2, frames. What? It turns the case. Arms racing difference funding from rewilding while trading off with cyber resilience and modernization. That holds deterrence. That's romantic. 2, it solves the case. Their attitudinal adherency, whose the Republicans oppose conservation efforts, whereas Democrats will pass legislation in order to solve it. Now, the OBB thumpers are wrong. Our evidence says that people are still still say that conservation efforts are not enough by the 118th Congress, which means the plan still flips popularity. They never implicated this, and it's one line in the OBBB. Obviously, Trump is not going to be able to campaign in that in order to swing, but in order to Republicans, the plan is credited to the GOP. Use logic. They're obviously perceived. They obviously own both parties of Congress, which means that normal means would credit it to Trump. Independently, our evidence is about how people are dissatisfied with current environmental regulations, which means that they vote in favor of the party that is not in office. Obviously, if people are more satisfied with environmental protections, then they'll vote in favor of the party that is in office because they're making positive change. The GOP taking credit regardless is our link because it flows negative. We said that rewilding is popular. Which will save the Republicans because Democrats are winning now. Short attention span is wrong. Republicans are going to campaign on it, and during the election they're going to be like, hey, look, we rewilded, and this should be a key issue. That's enough to flip the election. Our 1 and 2 evidence says that 90% of the public thinks that conservation is a key issue, which means that the plan is sufficient to take the election, especially because they never made a uniqueness over one's argument. The plan being an agency is irrelevant. Trump still takes credit for it anyways, and campaigns on it as him doing an action independently. And once again, it's about people's satisfaction with current environmental policy. This is also wrong because the plan being the FWS is wrong. Like this no link proves ASPEC, but also it's wrong because Trump still takes care of it anyways. And obviously the FWS would require the congressional statutory authority in order to do the plan. By the way, this is not a we meet to ASPEC because we said that they must specify in the 1AC and they never made a we meet. Now the Canada counterplan not going for it. We're not going for it. Same with the impeachment counterplan, but reject the argument. Not the team conceded that you should filter through new affirmatives. We must throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, which obviously justifies it. And also it's disproportionate to reject us for reading a bad argument because if it's so abusive, then they can obviously just read theory and not engage substantively, which solves this new argument. They never said reject the team in the 1 era. No new arguments, and it's key to substance education since otherwise every debate becomes theory, which is obviously untenable. T substance conceded, not going for it, but they can't classify anything which is done above. It's not contextual to ASPEC. Never said reasonability. No affirmatives, not going for it either. The dissent also not going for it. Concede that there's no link. The disability can concede plan focus. Now plan focus. Now con. Not going for it, but their theory interpretation is you should once again classify a theory as a reason to reject the argument, not the team. Advantage 1. They conceded that the United States going to help in the Great Lakes definitively solves all of their offense because it solves food wars and solves acidification of waters. But there's no impact. We did not drop any of their biodiversity. We did not drop any of their biodiversity arguments. We explicitly said that there's no impact because fisheries and other things are rebounding. Our NOA evidence says that there was a record low of fish stocks subject to overfishing, which obviously means that there's no reason why fish are going to decline and that people already have enough. Worst case scenario, it's linked by previous times when there were less conservation or when there were less fish. Our WINE's evidence is the plan. There's no marine biodiversity impact. Our WINE's evidence is super good. It says that under 1% of species have got extinct, which obviously means the threshold is super low. Also says that things such as ongoing conservation solve, and that keystone species are localized and can be replenished by other keystone species from other regions, which obviously means that in other regions their evidence is only about diversity among the coast, which means that obviously fish from the ocean can solve. The food impact is zero. Once again, people who are hungry cannot fight, which means that they're obviously not going to mobilize an army, but they can't solve it, which is not above. Advantage 2, it's literally zero. They can see our warrant says that China and Russia are revisionist and want to do whatever they want with their military, which obviously shreds the capability of international law, which zeroes the entirety of which zeroes both the Sing evidence and the other stuff. They can see that Sing never has a terminal, which means that it doesn't get to extinction, but the community evidence says that there's no way to enforce international law, even CAL, because countries like Russia and China have ignore it, and that there's so much vagueness within what international law means that people are just going to find ways to circumvent it. Drop that MPAs fail to solve it because they're inconsistently applied and they're too small. They only cover tiny portions of the oceans, and there's no enforcement mechanism in order to prevent damaging activities. Norms are zero because of Russia and China arms race. Blah 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 blah.
Game over because he dropped a whole scenario of help buffers nuclear war and solves it.
Sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
He dropped an entire scenario, game over, kelp buffers nuclear war, which solves the DA. Drop kelp is sufficient to absorb the radiation from a nuclear winter and drop converging existential threats happening now from the impacts that they said, and plus the fact that it solves eventual nuclear war and solves their dissent, which means that their impacts are not existential. Ours are because we solve future nuclear wars in general. Their time frame appeals or whatever doesn't get to the fact that extinction is inevitable. So when after a risk we solve, they're not existential in the future of the generations. That was in the 1AC. So extinction categorically outweighs anything else. That outweighs many serious or converging war. Drop now. Marine biodiversity. I did not hear words against this or answers against against these. They drop they drop species, they decline species now, causes keystone species, causes marine biodiversity loss, extinction broadly, that's existential because extinction now. The counterpoint has no explanation, dropped a few things. One, the affirmative is key to model. Trump has to convince of national oceans or exclude the economic zones to forward it to the COP30 with global health norms are necessary because federal action is necessary to rerouting international oceans to planting small amounts of carbon into the lake. In the US isn't seen as that, but it links to net benefit, which we get as a new argument because it wasn't indicated in the one as the linking to net benefit because it's seen as environmental policy. 3, drop most of the count for 70% of the coastline, not going for fisheries. But yes, marine biodiversity laws don't have to go for, I don't have to win it because of nuclear war. Also doesn't assume a massive scale of the warming causing biodiversity loss and ongoing conservation. Doesn't assume health rapidly declines in the west and east coast of the United States, which can't solve our impacts fast enough. Now, ASPEC, cross-apply. Now, they said when answering theory, substance, crowd out. Even if they didn't say the word reasonability, they say theory, crowd out, substance. So some defense is sufficient. And then they want to talk about new arguments that developed them for 1 AR. But there's one to see was less than like 5 seconds long. Dropped a few things. One, cross-sex checks. I don't know how they dropped this. It's on your flow. They can ask a cross-sex week guarantees every link to politics, dissent, etc., which they want. 2 picks. If I say courts, they get Congress pick, they get executive pick, which means penniless counterpoints because they get a pick out of why one is marginally better than the other. This is the only example of ground loss, which means that we turn their ground loss because the ground loss is bad because it leads to them resulting in something very similar to the app, which is justified. And it's not as bad. That was about now. They see text and function are arbitrary. And this is arbitrary and doesn't assume picks, which are germane. Theory text is wrong. It turns the entire topic into theory debate. Non-resolution arbitrary, which they somehow said it was bad. Now, all their arguments, all their case list is wrong. There's, by the way, it's completely new to an R. So I get new answers. Get new answers. They get normal means. They get checks via normal means and cross-checks, which was a defense they solved. I only answered this like in 5 seconds because the one in C was 5 seconds long. Obviously, wouldn't go for a blow up. And they dropped the picks explanation on T that turns all their offense down. Midterms, turn cases wrong. Funding is wrong. The plan mandate sufficient funding. Attitudinal adherency is wrong because they read the plan's popular. Now I'm going for the true argument. It's a no Carter response. The plan gives credit to Democrats, not Trump. The Democrats can also equally campaign for passing the plan. Now they say no means. Remember, Republicans are the party of non-conservation. They hate the plan, which is why there's attitudinal adherency, is what they say. They say logic wrong. Dems use it and campaign it. The logical extent is Dems all pass it, then Republicans, some of them pass it, but Dems are credited towards it. Either way, it's no risk. Either way, it's no plus minus for either one. They say dissatisfied with environmental regulations. This appeals to obvious is wrong. The Democrats will appeal for this. Equally would solve their arguments. Rewelding is popular. This is irrelevant because Democrats will also gain popularity. This is just a true argument. They say during the campaign, no Republicans are anti-environmentalists and will appeal to the base by saying they're not campaigning for environment, but Democrats will also do the same by saying they supported the bill, which is efficient. Good debate.